Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. Today's video is going to be based upon the monthly theme for my favorite Facebook group, Old School Role Playing. This month's theme is the collective works of Mr. Frank Mentzer. And as you can see, we even have the same taste in shirts. And it's appropriate considering the content I'm going to be showing you guys. Without further ado, let's go. So, to give a little bit of context here, for those who do not know who Frank is what I like to call one of the golden era TSR folks. Back in the day when this stuff came out, and first and second edition AD&D came out, and that whole era there, you know. When Mr. Gygax was still around, and all that. So what we'll do is we'll go through kind of a chronological order here of the things that Frank had done for TSR, and then later on we can talk about Frank's other works after leaving TSR. So start off with my immense thanks to Mr. Mentzer for creating the RPGA network. So back in the day, in the early 80s, let's say that you bought a product like this. Okay? So you get your basic set for D&D, you open it up, and let's say that was your first product. You'd see one of these inside the box. Application for the RPGA network. So I have no idea what product it was I bought when I first saw one of these, but I had to be a member. So back in that day, you had to cut it out. You had to get a mail order, because I was just a kid, so I had to somehow get a mail order. And I had to send it was $10 for the year, and I had to send my $10 off with this, and I had to wait for what felt like a frickin' eternity to get an envelope back that looked like this. Wait, there we go. That looked like that. Okay? So you would get your envelope, and I remember coming home from school every day after school and running to the mailbox and looking for it. And then after, I don't know, probably 2 months it took. It took a long time. I finally got my envelope. Couldn't wait, tear it open. And inside what you would get, now this is not my original. This is not my original certificate. My original certificate from the very first time that I joined is long lost. I don't know whatever happened to it. It was much nicer looking than this. It was actually a full-size certificate, you know. But anyway, so that's what this is from a time after that I had joined again or something. And so you would get your certificate, and you would get a pin, membership pin. Again, this is not my original pin. Unfortunately, I also lost that somewhere along the way during my Army career or whatever. But you would get a pin. This is a one that I got, I think, when I rejoined after I got back from the Army or whatever. And I'll put a picture here of what the original pin looked like. So this, and then you would get a membership card. And this is my original membership card. Somehow this survived. I made it through, so there's that. And that is really nice. It's actually like a credit card, you know, quality. And then in the time since, somehow I kept getting cards or whatever, and I got a number of different styles that I've gotten over the years. So you get all that. So that's what you would get in that initial envelope. You would get your certificate, your pen, your card, and you would probably get one of these, which was your membership directory, and this is how we did it back in the day before the internet. If you wanted to find people to play with, there you go. You'd have to search through this and find people. I think it's broken down by state, and you'd have to find people in your area, and there you go. Then you may or may not get one of these in the envelope for Gen Con. This is just one I had that I grabbed at random. This is for Gen Con from '89. That's, you know, of course, like the to pre-register and all that, and to tell you about everything that's going to happen at the convention. And you would more than likely get something like this in the envelope. Something from the mail order hobby shop. Of course, again, before the internet, you had to do all your if you wanted to do all your hobby shopping and all that, you had to go to a game store, or you had to do it through something like this. So, and then last but not least, this would probably come separate. I can't remember if it came in the original envelope or not, but of course the highlight was Polyhedron magazine, and this is the oldest one I think that I have. This is issue number 10, and basically, thank you, Frank, because of this, I ended up having to buy and own every TSR product that I could get my hands on, because in this, there would be routinely articles from everything from Top Secret. Later on, you know, getting into stuff like Gangbusters, of course, Boot Hill would be, there would be articles on Boot Hill, Dawn Patrol, which I've got up there. You can see it on the shelf back there. Of course, D&D, AD&D, all that. So it was fantastic because it's what got me hooked on wanting to collect all the, and getting involved in all the different genres. Gamma World, I left out Gamma World, which I don't know how I did that, but and then one of the other cool things about this was that they had a thing in here called the treasure chest. And the treasure chest was basically where you could buy all these different exclusive items for the RPGA. You know, like they had the belt buckles, the TSR belt buckles here. Where is it? Right there. And they had all that kind of stuff. And of course, Mr. Mentzer wrote these tournament modules here. And at the time this one came out, there was only 3 of them available. I guess he was still working on the 4th one. And I, as a kid, I didn't have enough money to buy everything out of here. I wish I had. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So that is what being a member of the RPGA got you for your $10 a year, which, as far as I'm concerned, was an incredible bargain. The RPGA, as far as I know now, is no longer in existence. But thank you, Frank, for the golden years there. So, as I spoke about, there was the tournament modules that Frank did for the RPGA. And I'm going to show pictures here because, unfortunately, I do not own them. If I would have bought them then, they wouldn't have been very expensive at all. Even though I was a kid, I didn't have the money to buy them. But they wouldn't be as expensive back then. Now, if you can find them, they are quite pricey. So, unless I want to, you know, piss off the wife, I can't take money out of savings to go buy all 4 of those that currently are, that you can find if you can find them. Number 1 was R1, the Aid to Falx. Number 2 was R2, Investigation of Heidel. Number 3 was R3, The Egg of the Phoenix. And number 4 was R4, Doc's Island. And they were all in a series. It was a series of adventures that was all tied in together and everything. And what they did was, later on, down the road, because they knew that those were only available to the RPGA members. They created what they called the super module, right here, Egg of the Phoenix. And they took all 4 of those, and of course, and Frank's name, of course, is on there. And they basically compiled it into a super module. And I have read through some of it. I haven't finished it, but it is, I can't wait. I'd love to DM this, so can't wait for that. Then, the next really big project that I know of that Frank worked on was the legendary, and I'm wearing the shirt, was what's known as the Beckmi. You had 5 sets of these books. Each one had its own box, so it was each one was its own box set. And it started with the basic rules. You had the basics, and then it moved on to expert rules, followed by the companion rule set, the master set, and finally the immortal set. So that's what the Beckmi stands for: basic, expert, companion, master, immortal. So again, like a moron, for whatever reason, I was in the military over in Germany, and I got rid of the boxes for these. I guess because I wanted to save space for shipping or whatever, to ship them back or whatever. And so I don't own the boxes to these anymore. I just have, I mean, luckily I still have the books, but for a bookshelf, it would really look nice to have all those boxes. But we all make choices and do stupid things. And so, in any case, fantastic set of rules that take characters from entry level all the way up to when you get into the immortal set, they're basically demigods at that point. And then there was a series of modules that were released for all these. You had the basics, the expert rules, companion. You had modules for all of those. And the only one that I know of that Frank wrote for any of those was for the Immortals set, and it was IM1, the Immortal Storm. I do not own that one, but here's a picture. And so this is the one. Well, this and the RPGA are the 2 huge projects that Frank is known for. But then again, there was also for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Frank worked with Gary Gygax himself to create the Temple of Elemental Evil, another super module. Mr. Gygax had created the village of Hamlet, and then Frank and he worked together to basically expand upon that for the Temple of Elemental Evil. Everybody that I know has either ran this or DM'd it or both. I have done both. It is fantastic. It's one of the classics. Everybody should own it. And if nothing else, own it just to read it. I actually have 2 copies of this. I don't know how I got 2. I probably picked one. I saw one real cheap someplace at a bookstore, and I decided I might as well get it. So I actually have 2 copies of that. And then in addition to that, for AD&D, Frank also worked on, he created this module, Needle, which is a very interesting storyline. I won't give any spoilers or anything else like that, but let's just say that it's a very interesting storyline, and it does come with a good set of pre-generated characters, which is what the module is actually designed for, but you can use other adventurers in there, other characters. So another great piece of work here. And then going back to the D&D product, once again, Frank worked with Gary to create the Book of Marvelous Magic for Dungeons & Dragons. And this was before you had all the compendiums, the Wizard's Compendium and all that other stuff, and the magic item compendiums and all this. This was one of the first products that gave you just a bunch of the magic items and all that stuff in one book. So it's also compatible with AD&D, it says on it. So because I've used it myself for my Greyhawk campaign. So another great product. Oh, and speaking of the Temple of Elemental Evil that Frank worked on, they actually made that into a video game. I've talked about that before. I've actually done a video about the actual video game, for a computer game. I don't really care for the interface on that and everything, but just the fact that it was a Greyhawk setting, computer game, I had to have it. So there's kind of all the highlights of the TSR stuff, with the exception of one thing. Frank also did one module for the Star Frontiers franchise, and it was based upon 2001: A Space Odyssey. Here's a picture. I don't own this. Well, actually, I guess I technically do. It's on its way. I've ordered it, and I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. So I actually do own it. I paid for it, so I guess I own it. I just don't have it here to show you. So I can't wait to read that. So that kind of is everything that regarding TSR that Frank did. Now, I take that back. There was a product that Frank got into where he, with the Gen Con conventions, he was getting into auctions, game auctions, heavy duty there, and he actually created a thing called the Game Buyer's Price Guide in 1986, and you can actually still find a copy of it available on Amazon. The price is astronomical, but and there is no picture of the actual product. They just have a graphic, and I'll show it here. But that's all they have of it. So it's very rare. But to be a completionist, I wanted to mention that. So I'd like to see it at some point one day, just to see and thumb through it, see what the prices were back in '86. So that takes care of the TSR era there. Then, after Mr. Gary Gygax was so unceremoniously forced out of TSR, the company that he created, Mr. Gygax started up a new company called New Infinities, where Frank decided to follow him there, and where they collectively authored stuff such as Cyborg Commando, and there was a couple other products that Frank worked on there. One was called the Convert. Another one was called Ashiba Greek Africa. But then after a while, the new TSR was threatening litigation over titles and intellectual property and all these things, and so Frank decided to leave the game industry completely, which he did for a while, and then until he recently teamed up with Tim Kask and Jim Ward to create Eldritch Enterprises. And he has authored several products through Eldritch, and here's just an example here. called Lich Dungeon Level 1, but there's others available at Eldritch. So if you're interested, please follow the link below. I'll put it down below for you, and you can go check out all of the offerings, not just Frank's, from Eldritch Enterprises. That's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff there that's on my shopping list for me to get in the future here. So Christmas is coming up, and I will make sure my wife has my wish list. So thank you, Mr. Mentzer, for everything that you did for the gaming community and for me in my hobby. And for all my other viewers out there, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.